Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rayma, and I guess it's kind of obvious I like to talk about books. I also enjoy cozy hobbies and things like that, which include reading. This is one of my favorite videos to film. It is my end of the month wrap up and then my TBR for the next month. So this video I'm going to be going over the books that I read in March and talking about what I'm planning to read in April. I'm about to give up on TBRs because I just feel like the things that I say I want to read, I end up just finding something else. I guess I am a bit of a mood reader. I didn't think that I was that, but I am. Today we're going to be going over the books that I read in March, and again what I'm going to read, or what I'm planning to read, what I will read actually in April, because one of them I've already started and then the other one is a book club book, so I will be reading both of these in April. But what else I read in April, who knows, we'll see. So these are the books. This might be a thumbnail. So these are them. The way I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna give you like a little bit of a synopsis about the book, talk about pros and cons, my rating for them, and then I like to end with like a quote, a favorite quote that I have from each of the books. So I'm going to start with, and I also have my reading journal here to help me stay on track with how I felt about these things. So if you see me looking down, I'm probably gathering my notes. I should have looked at this before I started filming the video. Okay. So the first book that we have is A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon. Before you click off this video, assuming that somebody might click off this video because they're just like, why are you reading that? This is a middle grade book. I don't discriminate with the books that I read. I don't mind reading middle grade if it's a really good story. I would like to know what the kids these days are reading. And I saw this one and I just thought that it was cute. Something about it just drew me to it. I thought that the cover was really cute. The title was interesting. And then I saw a blurb on the front from Gail who wrote Ella Enchanted, saying that she loved it. And I ended up reading it as a palate cleanser. I had just finished, what did I finish? The book I read before this was The Secret Keeper of Main Street, which was historical fiction, a little bit of magical realism, and sort of a heavy read. Kind of. And then the book that I had to read for book club for this month was Grown Women, and I was just like, I don't want to read too heavy black pain, black trauma sort of narratives back to back. I want something light, and I was like, what better to be light than a book that's about a girl and raccoons. So synopsis of the book. The book is set in New York City. It's about a little girl named Pearl. She's grown up in the Lancaster Avenue branch of the New York's public library system. In the neighborhood that she lives in, people just aren't checking for this library essentially. And so it all comes to a head one day when there's a statue in the library's garden and the head of the statue gets stolen. And so when the city finds out about this, they're just like, okay, that's just more evidence that people don't care about this institution. So these developers start coming in, looking to gentrify things in the neighborhood, and they want to turn the library into a housing unit. And basically Pearl starts trying to fight back on her own, but also with the staff of the library behind her, against it. As she's grown up, her mom has been telling her these fantastical stories about raccoons in the library and how they can read and write. And Pearl has always thought that these stories were just like fiction, but come to find out, it's not fiction. There actually are reading raccoons in the library, and they have their own little newspaper called The Midnight Moon, hence the title, A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon. And so her and the raccoons team up to try to save the library. It is a cute story, and I'm just gonna go ahead into the pros and cons and tell you guys what I liked and what I did not like about it. So pros, as a person with a marketing and communications background, I really liked how the book integrated marketing, PR, advertising, speak, because it was all about bringing publicity to the library. I've always felt like communications majors are looked down upon. We were thought to in college have had the easiest majors.
I'm changing my major. For what? Communications.
And exactly what does that entail?
Well, it's communications. It's like the study of communicating, okay?
Why do you want to major in that?
Because I'm good at it.
but I think that the book kind of shows like how important marketing and media and PR communications like jobs actually are. They're more important than people realize. I felt like the book was a truthful depiction of change. I saw on somebody else's channel here, they were talking about how like the purpose of children's books or middle grade books and how they kind of teach children lessons. I did feel like this book was a very good depiction in terms of how jarring change can be, and helping children who are undergoing like, or at ages where they're undergoing like these extreme or intense bouts of change. Like, you know, you're not alone. What you're experiencing is normal. And even as an adult, I read it and I was just like, you know, this is very relatable even now. Like, I don't think that all of us adults have perfectly adapted or been able to like have positive reactions to change. It gets hard. It's hard when you're young, it's hard when you're older, and I think that that's a really good lesson. And I like how the book just showed like how raw and just upsetting it can be. I really loved the reading raccoons. I've said this before, I really do love magical realism in a story, mostly in the form of time travel, but I realized that I love animals who have like human characteristics, like they can talk or write or things like that, or have like, you know, human emotions in a sense. Like I think I noticed this for the first time in New Moon, Twilight's New Moon, with like Jacob, and how he, when he was the werewolf, how he was like still in his right mind, and he knew who Bella was and would like come up to her and like smile at her, like bare all his teeth. And I'm just like, stuff like that I really love. And the raccoons in this book, it was just so cute to me how the author would describe them like laughing or showing all their teeth, and like that was them smiling or just doing these little quirky things, and I thought it was just adorable. And there's also like illustrations in the book. See here, like the raccoons in the library, like I don't know if you can see that, they're like in the library reading. This is when they find out, or this is when Pearl finds out that the reading raccoons are a real thing. I just thought that I love that. I love the reading raccoons, and I love the fact that there are illustrations so that I can see how the illustrator slash author maybe is imagining them. Cons, the book is way too long. Like, it was over 300 pages. It was about 300, it's 383 pages, this copy that I have. Entirely too long. Like, it should have been cut in half. I don't know where the author went wrong in that regard, but it just kept going, and I don't know where I could have told her or where she could have stopped or did something, but it just didn't need to be that long. It was way too long. And palate cleanser it was. By the time I finished this, I was like, I'm so ready to get to a book that I actually, not that I actually want to read, because I wanted to read this one, but that it's actually going to be, I guess, I don't want to say on my level, but something that'll be more stimulating intellectually, and that if it's going to be 383 pages, it's going to give me like things to think about. So yeah, I thought it was way too long. It's also a little bit too busy. So like the author has these like footnotes in addition to the illustration. She has like footnotes, but she also has these little sidebars in here, and sometimes the sidebars don't have anything to do with what's being said like on the page, and it's just way too much going on. Like it's a cute concept if it were executed cleanly, but it's just too much going on, I think, for this author to have done that. So it did what I needed it to do. It's a children's book, and I hesitate to like give it like a bad rating because I'm 30 and I'm over here reading a book that's meant for children. I think that it doesn't deserve a bad rating, but it's definitely not a 4 or 5 star read. I gave it 3 stars. So there's that. And in terms of my favorite quotes, let's see. I'll give you 2. One of them on page 20 says, "Picture books are for anybody." 100%. I have a shelf of them. I think that we should all be reading children's literature, or trying to, or at least exposing ourselves to it to see what they have going on. And then another quote that I really liked, there was a part where they were talking about how things never go back to the way that they were. So that's the first book, A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon. This will probably get put into like a little free library somewhere. I don't think that I'm gonna keep that on my shelf. Okay, so the next book I read, and I'm so excited to talk about it. I'm so excited to talk about it. it's Grown Women by Sarah Johnson. I know it looks like Sarai, but her name is pronounced Sarah. If you go on her Instagram, she says like it's pronounced Sarah. So Grown Women. This was our book club book this past month, and it was amazing. I loved it so much. Okay, synopsis. I always forget which order to go in. Synopsis. So basically, Grown Women is about 4 generations of black women: Evelyn, Charlotte, Corinna, and Camille. Camille is the youngest and most recent born, so she is the great-grand. So Evelyn is the great-grandmother, Charlotte is Camille's grandmother, and Corinna is Camille's mother. And so the book is just essentially talking about the relationships between daughters and their moms, particularly in a black context. And so in this family, there was just a lot of trauma that went on. I won't even say that it started with Evelyn, but in the book, because we really get most of her story first, or she's the first person that's mentioned, we get a little bit of her mom, but not too much. So I'm not going to say the trauma started with Evelyn, but it kind of starts with Evelyn in this book. So starting with her and going down, the things that she did, the things that she didn't do, and how they affected her daughter, things that happened to her daughter under her watch or under her care that then affected her daughter, and then how they all kind of come together because they want Camille, the last born, to have a better life. And the book I'm just going to go ahead and tell you my star rating. I gave it 5 stars. It definitely made me reflect. I think that was the point of the author writing it. Like, it's really meant for you to think about your own upbringing. And I had a lot to say, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it. So pros. I love that it was multiple points of view. So like there are different sections of the book, but in each section, like, you get perspective from Corinna, from Charlotte, from Camille, eventually from Evelyn, and I love that. However, the perspective isn't in the first person, it's in the third person. The author does this in a way where she's not telling the reader what to think, and I love that so much. So it's like we get all these multiple points of view, but the points of views are not like skewed, or they're not biased. Like, they're just, the information just being laid out for you. And I think the effect that that has is like you read something and your reaction to it is pure. Like, it says something about you, however you react to what you just read. So like, there were things in the book about, you know, maybe a mom, I don't want to spoil anything, how mothers feel about their daughters, or how mothers feel about children when they have, you know, some moms have complicated feelings about being moms. The book doesn't tell you how to feel about that, but it lays out how this person feels and how you react to that. I think it says a lot about you. And for me, it made me feel a way, but I tried to be conscious. Like, you know, people are complicated. People have different experiences. Like, I was trying to check, you know, myself. Like, okay, this is sad, but it happens, and this person is a human with a complicated existence, a complicated history, all that stuff. So I thought it was masterful how the author did that. I love the 4 generations of black women. So like, Evelyn's story kind of stems from like the 50s to the 70s, and I won't say that it jumps around at all. Like, I think the author does a pretty good job of keeping it linear, and when she does jump back, it's very clear, because if you're reading the book, I think the audiobook version, you don't really see like the years, but if you're reading the book, it's very clear what year you're in, and it's mostly in a forward fashion. But I just love seeing how the women who are born in these different decades, how like the social happenings of that time shape how they are, their values and their viewpoints. Like, Evelyn is so different from Camille, and Evelyn is the great grandmother and Camille is the great granddaughter. So it's just like, I love that, like, the difference in time and like age. Seeing these different women at these different stages in life and how they're just processing things. Let's see. I loved the pacing of the book. Somebody in book club said that they thought that it was just way too long. I think it was, how long was this? It was 300 something pages. 388 pages, my copy. Somebody in book club said they felt it was too long. I thought that it was paced perfectly. Like, it really reads like life. Like, we're following these women throughout their life. So people's lives have ups and downs. It's not like this book that centers around, I mean, it kind of does center around a central event, but even in that, it's just kind of like the ebbs and flows of people's lives. And I really love a good narrative driven story. I think that's what it was. It's narrative driven. And so I thought it was perfect. Like, there are some really huge huge, like really big things that happen in this book, but I just thought that, but the book doesn't hinge on that stuff. Like just the in between, like the other stuff is interesting too. And then Sarah Johnson, like I can't wait to read her next book. But this is amazing. It was really good. I love the nostalgic tidbits for millennials. It's very obvious that the author is a millennial. Camille was born in 1992 and I was born in 1994. And so like, I think I said this in another video, the things that she experiences in her life overlap with mine, like MySpace and Tumblr, and reading about that was just very like authentic. Like I could tell that that is the one that the author really knew a lot about. Like she could really write her really well. Everybody was written very well, but like Camille, I think that's part of why I identified to her so much, is because like just the nostalgia of like that age in the time period. I felt her, like the things that she was dealing with. It was just like a lot of overlap between her life and mine. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it too. I love the ending of it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I just feel like the ending was very realistic. And a lot of times like people want books to give like these storybook fairy tale endings, you know, to make it okay. In real life, unfortunately, there are not always happy endings, but in a book we can control that. So why not have happy endings? But I really love that the author just kept it like real, and even in its realness, it was just like satisfying to me. You just have to read it. It was authentic, it was real, it wasn't like fairy tale like. And I think that even in its like what you could consider to be sad, it's just kind of like, or happy depending on how you look at it, because I don't want anybody to think I'm spoiling something, but it's just, there's still some level of hopefulness and in that. I'm trying to say what I can say without spoiling that for you, but I love the ending personally. People in book club did not. They were just like, I'm just like, it's real, it's authentic. So cons. This is not a con per se, but this is the only bad thing I think that I have to say about the book, or one of two like negative things. But I gave it 5 stars, so clearly they're not that bad. There's a supernatural element to the book, and I thought that it was so interesting, but it wasn't explored to the fullest extent that I thought it could have been. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you've read this or when you read it. I thought it was so cool, and like even that is layered, like the way that the supernatural stuff is related to what's happening in all of these women's lives, or what they've experienced. Like it's just so cool, but I just kind of felt like it's there and it's not super like fleshed out. I don't know how the author could do that, but I was just like, you know, I'd like to know something else about this. But it wasn't like anything that made me feel like the book needed to be docked a star or half a star or anything like that. And also, if you've noticed, like there are 3 C names: Charlotte, Corinna, and Camille. And at the very beginning of the book, I was confused all the time, like who is this, who is that? So at the beginning of the book, it was a little bit just like, okay, this is, who is talking? Like what are they talking about? Like, who is this person? But when you get into the story and you get to know each of them a little bit more, you know exactly who Corinna, who Camille is, who Charlotte is. You won't mix them up. But in the beginning, it was just very confusing. And I don't know what the audiobook experience is like, but somebody from book club said that too. Like she was just losing track of who was who. So those are the only 2 things that I would say are cons. And again, I gave it 5 stars. I DM'd the author on Instagram to tell her how much I love this book. And she asked me who my favorite character was, and I told her Camille, because I could just relate to her so much. Camille had been poured into by a lot of, you know, different women in her life, and with that comes this pressure, and I know what that feels like, and she just has like a reckoning with herself at a point in the book. And I just think that everybody should read this. 5 out of 5 stars. I was gonna go into a whole spiel about that, but I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to spoil anything. But like I said, the book it really makes you reflect. It made me reflect, and I had to call my mom at some point while I was reading it and just be like, thank you for breaking or like stopping generational stuff, because the things that she's told me about, like, you know, her upbringing and what she experienced when she was a child, I'm just like, she really tried to like make a 180 and like change things so that I would grow up differently, and she definitely did that. And it's all about choices. You want your kids if you so choose to have them, to have more options, to be able to do things that you didn't do, for them to have choices in this life. We don't want people to have to do things because they have to do it to get by. You want them to have choices. And my mom succeeded with that with me. So I told her, I was like, you really did that. You did that with the help of God. By the grace of God, she was able to do that. So really good book. It really made me reflect. I really wanted to just sit with it a little bit after that, but I was like, I want to keep reading, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But Grown Women was a great book, and I recommend that anybody and everybody watching this video, please read it. I forgot to give you some of my favorite quotes from Grown Women, and I try to keep in like my reading journal, I try to keep like my favorite quotes to just 2 pages so that I don't use all of the pages in here, but I had to give it a little bit more. So let's see. This is the first one that I loved. It says, if Camille's future was what mattered, would it be okay if she became a trophy wife, one of those internet personalities, a model, an MTV VJ, a fitness instructor, a bartender like her mother? Perhaps you couldn't think that far ahead. Camille was only 17. If she didn't get pregnant, she had a lot of time to make those kinds of decisions, and she had real options. Whatever she chose would be her choice, at least more so than most of the choices Corinna had made. Love that. This last one, I'll just read this one to you. I won't, so y'all can read this, like find these quotes you like on your own. But this last one, I kind of put Camille's name in brackets and put my name in there to like make it interchangeable. And it says Camille, but I put my name in there. So Camille Rama was smart. She would be okay. If she wasn't, at least she was doing what no one before her had, whatever she wanted to. That in and of itself was rewarding. I love that so much. So that's Grown Women. Okay. So then the next book that I read and finished was The Penny Pinchers Club. So this I checked out from the library, and I'll just give you the synopsis. So basically it's about this, I guess, I can't even remember the main character's name. I think her name was Kat. She lives in New Jersey. She is a shopaholic, suburban mom, and she is married to the love of her life, but they're like 20 years into the marriage, and she finds an email and she thinks that her husband is cheating on her. Her finances are terrible. Like, she has not saved any money, and she realizes that she has to make a complete 180 in order to get herself together for what she thinks is about to be a divorce. I picked the book up because as somebody who's trying to be a better steward of my finances, I was like, it would be very interesting to read how this woman like made changes to not be more frugal, but she was being frugal, to just like change her like financial situation. Okay, my camera ran out of storage like for my video. I've clearly been yapping a lot, and my memory card only holds like, I can only record for up to like 33 minutes at a time before I have to take the card out and transfer the files and then put it back in there. So it ran out. I didn't realize I've been talking that much. I hope y'all enjoy this video, and I hope I'm not just doing a lot. So she joins this Penny Pinchers Club to help her like become frugal so she can save $15,000 for a divorce by the summertime. And I didn't pick up the book for the mess. I picked it up because I was really interested to see how this woman was going to pull this off, like how she was going to turn her life around from spending all this money to then just like saving all this money. And that part of the book did not really disappoint. Like, it did give like a lot of like insight into how you can be a more frugal person. In my opinion, it's not totally doable for me. Like, I'm not turning my, I'm not getting rid of Netflix or whatever. So I mean, if I had to, I guess you got to do what you got to do. But that book, I don't really want to spend too much time on it. It's very obscure. The Goodreads and like favorite reviews that I saw are like from 9, 10 to 15 years ago. But if you want to know how I feel, I'll just read to you the review that I wrote. I said 2.75 stars. It was plucked from obscurity at my local library. I was like, sorry, we're just going to overlook Bree and Griff's still wildly inappropriate relationship. So I don't want to spoil anything, but whether or not Kat's husband was cheating, he had an inappropriate relationship with the woman she suspected him of cheating with. If I walk into a room and my husband is sitting on the couch with you and y'all jump up real quick and you're tugging at your skirt, it don't matter if y'all aren't having an affair. That is inappropriate. I read that and I'm just like, okay, we get to the end of the book and maybe if every, you know, I'm trying not to spoil it, but I think I just did. But I don't think anybody's going to read this book anyway. I'm just like, if we get to the end of the book and y'all are good because he's not cheating on you, he still did some weird stuff. Okay, we're just gonna look at and then I was like, the email, and then also Bree was talking about her to him in an email that had me hot. And I was like, Kat's like old flame came into the picture and he was a billionaire and was just trying to take care of her. And you know me, I don't know me, but I was just like, I don't know, Kat girl, you know, you maybe should have chose Liam. And he got looked over twice. Like, he proposed to her years ago and she left him kneeling in the sand, and now he's back again trying to get her again, and she overlooks him again. And I was like, Liam is one of God's strongest soldiers. My boyfriend is downstairs playing the game. But I was like, overall, the book just had too many plot holes, really, that the author did not tie together or explain. And there was a point in the middle where I was just like, okay, it's gotten kind of boring and I just want to be done with this. But I will say that the book, like, it read very smoothly. Like, I got from point A to point C, which is the end of the book, pretty quickly. Like, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the pacing of it. But I gave it 2.75 stars. It was just something that I found at the library. It's not like an earth-changing or whatever read. I don't think it's gonna, like I said in another video, the author doesn't even herself seem to be thinking about this book because she has other more successful books. So those are the 3 books that I read in March. So for April, I'm currently reading Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine. And I am 99 pages into it. Going from the Penny Pinchers Club to this, the Penny Pinchers Club was a much easier read in terms of like me just being able to read seamlessly. Eleanor has a very colorful language, and this book is from her perspective. And first of all, she lives in Europe and she speaks almost like in a Shakespearean way. So I find myself reading the same sentence over and over and over again. But I picked this up because Kalila D said that this is one of her, if not her favorite book. And I was just like, I trust her insight and her book recommendation. So I picked it up when I saw it in the library. And I can tell that it's a really good book, a really good story. I think I just picked it up at a time when I needed I don't know. I've just had a lot going on in my brain recently. And it's just like, I don't want to work too hard to get the story out. But today, I kind of did some things that I needed to do. Like, I cleaned up a little bit. I ate something before I sat down and I read this, and it was a much more pleasant experience. So I think that I just got to work on taking care of myself before I try to force myself to read things. But I'm not going to give an opinion on it yet. I will talk about this when I finish it, but so far I do like it. Yeah. So that's the first book that I'm reading, and I don't think I gave the synopsis. It's about Eleanor Oliphant is a socially awkward woman. She's almost 30 years old who lives somewhere in Europe, I think in Scotland maybe. And she's clearly been very hurt in the past by her mother, who she talks to once a week and who I think is locked up somewhere. But she just, when I say she's socially awkward, like, she's not socially awkward in the way that I'm socially awkward. Like, I'm in social situations trying to figure out like what I can say sometimes. I hate to admit this, to make somebody like me. That's how I used to be. She does not seem to care about being liked. She just says things that are off the wall and other people just look at her like she's weird. And I think that that is a wonderful way to be, honestly. I think that's the better kind of social awkward. But so her brand of social, I picked this book up also thinking that I would be able to relate, and I can in some ways, but not in that way. Like, she's very much a I'm gonna say whatever I want to say type person, and she thinks other people are the problem and weird. Whereas I'm just, you know, I think a lot of us, when we think of social awkwardness, it's kind of like we're trying to fit into these already established circles and we're trying to adjust ourselves. But she's not like that, which I admire her for. And, but she lives a very isolated life, and something happens and she starts kind of going around these certain people a little bit more, and you can kind of see her like hard exterior falling a little bit. And so I'm interested to see what the rest of the book is like. I initially wanted to finish this by the end of March so I could include it in this wrap up, but I had to tell myself, like, it's not a race, and I'll talk about that after I mention this last book. So the next book and the next book that I'm planning to read or I will read in April is Perish by Latoya Williams. This is another book club book. I don't know what it's about, so I'm going to read the back of it to you. It has a lot of awards. Okay. I see comparisons to The Color Purple and Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. I read The Bluest Eye and that upset me, so I'm going to prepare to be upset. But anyway, the synopsis says, bear it or perish yourself. Those are the words Helen Jean hears that fateful night in her cousin's outhouse that changed the trajectory of her life. Spanning decades, Parrish tracks the choices Helen Jean, the matriarch of the Turner family, makes and the way those choices have rippled across generations. We meet 4 members of the Black Texan family. Julie B., a woman who regrets her wasted youth and the time spent under Helen Jean's thumb. Alex, a police officer grappling with the dark and twisted past. Jan, a mother of 2 who yearns to go to school and leave Jerusalem, Texas behind for good. And Lydia, a woman whose marriage has fallen apart because her body can't seem to stay pregnant. Called home to say goodbye to their mother and grandmother, each family member is forced to confront long-kept secrets and ask themselves who is deserving of forgiveness and who bears the cross of blame. This beautiful yet heart-wrenching novel will serve as a hand extended through the darkness to a great many of its readers. Okay, so this is gonna upset me, and my book club is known for every book that we have read has been a trauma read. And I'm just like, there are Black romance books, can we not read something else? But I think it's good because I'm not going to pick something like this up on my own. I will pick a happy Black book up, but I don't like to read the sad ones. I know the sad history. I don't want to sit in it all the time, but I do appreciate them because it forces me, like I really do get like a more holistic view, maybe I guess, of Blackness. But I think that I will like this one because it says that it spans decades and it also looks like it has multiple points of views too, like grown women. So I am excited to read this. So once I finish Eleanor Oliphant, I will read this, and whatever else I read in April is going to be news to me because I'm not going to plan it out this time. And that goes to what I was saying before. Like I was stressing myself out trying to read Eleanor Oliphant by the time I was gonna sit down to film this video. I had to tell myself that I need to take the pressure off. Like, it's not a race. I think that recently reading has just not been as enjoyable to me as I have wanted it to be, and I think it's because I put pressure on myself. Like, I feel like I have a little bit more time, so I should be reading more, and I'll be sleepy at night and be thinking like, oh, I need to try to read something right now. It's like, no girl, go to sleep, or I'll be hungry and I'll try to read something. Like, no girl, you need to eat something. Like, take care of yourself before you try to like just devour all these books. And so I think that like I think that reading goals are good things, like the Goodreads goal and the daily check-in on Fable are great, like accountability things. But I think that, and I thought about this when I was watching a fellow booktuber. I'll link it. I'll put his channel's name in the description. He had a tag about book mammoths and how he doesn't care about the length of a book because he's just reading for the story. And I was like, you know what? I think that a lot of people are hesitant to pick up these really big books because they have reading goals and they want to be able to read as many books as possible in some cases, not all cases. But I was just like, you know what? I don't want to make it such a big deal about the number of books that I'm reading in a month, say. Like, I've been really happy that I've read 3, almost 4 books in a month. But I just don't want that to be like a thing. Like, I want to take the pressure off of myself. I want to stop trying to hit a goal. I just want to read consistently. I don't want to pick up books that are popular for other people. I want to go into a store, read the back of a book and say, oh, this speaks to me, and take it home. Like, I want to do more of that because I want to get back to where I was when I was a kid. Because when I think about how I read back then, I wasn't reading like to hit like a reading goal, except for like those pizza parties in school. That was different. But I'm like, when I got a little bit older, that wasn't really a thing. Like, I was reading for the enjoyment of it. I would go to the library, check out a book that I thought that I would like, and I would go home and read it. I wasn't like tracking it on Goodreads or doing all these things. And I just don't feel like I want to I still want to use Goodreads because I want to remember what I read. But I just don't want to put so much weight on it that it's stressing me out and taking the enjoyment out of reading. So I know I'm going to read this because I'm reading it right now. And this is my book club read. And whatever else happens or comes to me in April, I'm going to welcome that. I'm going to be so excited to share it with you as it does and when I do my April wrap up. But I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I was yapping. I didn't realize that I was yapping that much. And I don't think I gave you like I don't think I gave you my favorite quotes from the Penny Pinterest Club, but it doesn't matter. The book wasn't that profound. But I hope you guys have a great day, a great morning, a great night, great weekend whenever you're watching this video. I hope that you relax, move slow. I don't know what's happening in your life and what kind of things you have going on or things you need to accomplish and do, but the problems and all the other stuff is going to be there. Just enjoy your life, move slow, like you're on your own timetable. Just enjoy today. I was trying to give y'all something like real inspirational, but I just think that we need to move slow and not be so like, you know, gotta do this, gotta do that. But I hope you guys have a beautiful month ahead. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you watched to this point, put bubbles in the comments if you watched it up until this point, because I really want to see. But thank you guys so much for being here. Please let me know what you're reading, if you've read any of these books that I have, or you have some suggestions for me. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.